Can I ask you something? Are you chasing that one thing that's going to finally fix your health, give you more energy, create more succinct thoughts, focus, your cravings are for bad food or less, and your stress levels are finally managed? Because nicotine is having a moment, and people are treating it like the miracle tool. And I get it, life's intense, stress is high, and everyone wants the fastest lever. But here's what I unpack with David Avocado Wolfe in this episode. Medicine versus poison is dosage. And sourcing is everything, guys. There's no hack that works if your foundations are trash, if you're dehydrated, depleted, underslept, undersunlit, undermineralized. Stacking trendy tools can actually make you feel more dysregulated. So we talk foundations first: hydration, minerals, sunlight, movement, emotional regulation, and then we talk the tools and why people get seduced by the shortcuts. If you've been tempted to try nicotine for performance or calming or viruses, listen to this before you do anything, because the conversation you actually need isn't happening in the comment section. Okay, we're in San Diego. I flew David all the way out here to help make me a hydrating elixir because I had plasma pen on my neck. David thought it was a tribal tattoo, but I wanted him to make something for me that was super healing. David, I'm so glad that you're here in San Diego.
Great to be back.
It's always a great time when we're together. Best time ever.
Best ever.
You are somebody that has taught me so much. When I was first getting into the world of herbs and making elixirs and all of this like fun alchemy stuff, you were a big inspiration to me. And
thank you.
I've learned a lot from you, but most of all, you just bring it. We always have the best time ever. So I'm excited to have you in the studio today.
It's great. It's great to be here. Southern California is still, it's got so much magic. That's the thing about being here. It's just, it just hits you.
Yeah.
This is an amazing place. You have an amazing spot here. And so thanks for having me.
Yeah. We were on the rooftop. You were looking out and trying to find your mom's house.
Checking out the avocado tree, loaded, by the way, with flowers. You got a lot of avocados coming.
Yes,
it's looking
I do.
good. Just that small tree, too. I was like, wow, that thing's really a producer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My garden's pretty magical. I'm very grateful for it. So I want to have you here today. There's so many things that we could talk about, but I want to kind of get into the topic that we were discussing about how nicotine has become such a huge substance that many people are using. What are
Yes.
Zens? I don't know.
Knickknacks. There's all different kinds of, they're all synthetics, by the way. All the stuff that's on the market today is a synthetic. And so I've been a tobacco grower. Strangely, this is such a strange thing because I grew up in cannabis culture in San Diego, right? So I never understood tobacco. I never understood the nootropic effects of nicotine. I didn't understand the weight loss effects of nicotine. I didn't understand the weight loss like the appetite suppression of nicotine. All the things that people use nicotine for, I didn't understand any of it. So about 25 years ago, I was drinking ayahuasca with a crew. And, if you've never done that, it's a psychedelic beverage, comes from the Amazon, and it's a very intense experience. And the ayahuasca spirit, or whatever the intelligence of the plant, is like, you're going to grow the best tobacco ever. I'm a plant guy, grow trees. As you know, I'm a cacao farmer and avocado farmer. That's why my name is Avocado. I grow avocado trees since 1978 in San Diego. But anyway, that was just the weirdest thing. I was like, tobacco? Like I was thinking like cigarettes.
Yeah.
I didn't have any context with which to understand it, but the synchronicities came. A friend of mine gave me 2 plants and I put them right next to the exit of my entrance to my office. And they did well there. And step by step, I got into growing tobacco. And then step by step, I started learning about nicotine and learning about how do you ferment the leaves right. And by the way, the way I've learned it, and I let the plant teach me over 25 years, is a lot different than the hot dogs that they're selling out there called cigarettes.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's where the controversy is. And that's what I want to get into because nicotine has become a hot topic.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking about it, even biohackers, health influencers. It's not just the people that smoked cigarettes, it's health influencers. And I have been getting a lot of questions from our community is, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to know your opinion because you're so amazing with your connection with plants and really being able to understand them and their benefits.
and maybe something that is toxic or caustic for our bodies. So help us understand nicotine a little better.
Okay, so there's nothing as a nutritionist, and as also, working with herbal medicine, eventually you come to the realization that the difference between a medicine and a poison is dosage. And so that's the thing about nicotine. It's a poison, right? It's a poison, but at a certain dosage, it's a medicine, or at a microdose, it's a medicine, like a 1 milligram. Now, people who are new to this, they try a 3 milligram, like knick-knack or one of those lozenges or something. It's too strong, way too strong. You'd need like a 0.75 or 1 milligram dose. And then you go, okay, I can see something happening. And so what will eventually happen as, we develop this market a little bit more and we get to the organic products, as there's nothing organic on the market, is that people will start to move their microdosing away from the things they're doing, like they're doing magic mushrooms or LSD or microdosing. What else are they microdosing out there? There's other things. It's going to eventually all go to nicotine.
Really?
Because it's just where people end up after a while. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, everybody ends up back on coffee and cigarettes. There's a reason. Now, I'm not promoting cigarettes. A cigarette is a hot dog.
In the 90s, all the supermodels were smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Or drinking coffee.
Yep.
No, they weren't eating anything.
Yep.
They had a flat butt. No, they were totally skinny, looking good. And we wonder, why? Is that the diet? Is that what you have?
It comes down to caffeine and nicotine. Now, what we want, though, is a non-toxic caffeine and a non-toxic nicotine. And that's a hard thing in our civilization.
Yeah.
So, people have had to work at really good quality coffees. And I bet you probably figured out some good quality coffees for yourself. But can you get a good quality nicotine? Now, on my farm, you can, because I grow it.
Yeah.
But can you get that in the market? And so I'm working with people in the marketplace to make that an opportunity for people. Nicotine has got a bad rap. Mm-hmm. It got a bad rap because they turned the cigarette into a hot dog. So that means every commercial chemical you can imagine ended up in it. And when you
Why is that?
It's just the way the industry works. Plus they wanted to make it more addictive. Plus they basically wanted to, take the stuff they couldn't sell as cigars or couldn't sell in any other way and just cut it and just throw it into cigarettes. That's basically what it is, right? So
the leftovers?
It's the leftovers, right? So for example, your chopped up burley tobacco, it's usually a third of what's in a cigarette. So it's a third burley tobacco, a third one other, variety of one other kind of subspecies, and a third another subspecies. And that's kind of your conventional cigarette. So they'll throw, for example, let's just say stems. You don't smoke stems of tobacco. So, but they don't care. They press them anyway and just shred them and put it all in there. Everything goes in there. Not only that, tobacco picks up from the environment. It's the king. It wants everything from the environment. So if it's in a toxic environment, toxic fertilizers, toxic chemicals, sprays, guess where it all ends up? In the tobacco. Now, nicotine's a dilator. So it drives everything in. It's niacin, basically.
Yeah.
Like niacin, nicotinamide, nicotine, niacinamide, NMNs, NAD, NAD plus, NADH, NADH plus. Those are all nicotine derivatives. And so nicotine's a driver like niacin is. And if you put toxic chemicals in there, it's going to drive it into you. And so this is what created a nightmare for people who like the nicotine effects, but couldn't get it clean. It's created a nightmare for us because it became cancerous.
Also, our lungs are our first place for detoxification.
Right.
Like the lung. So it's going into the lung.
Yep.
So that's already a problem.
So a non-combusted product is what people want, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's the thing is we've moved away from cigarettes. I mean, in California, but I live in California and you can't smoke a cigarette in a restaurant. When I was
or on the street,
they would have a smoking section, non-smoking, but now you really can't. So we understand most people get it. That's super toxic. But now we've moved into these little pouches that you put in your mouth with nicotine and then, what are those things?
Snooze. I think they're called snooze. And then there's lozenges, gums, like Lucy gum is one of the brands that's out there. And then there's the patches, generally too strong. Everybody, generally too strong. Generally what you want is like a 1 milligram dose. You want an actual real microdose, especially if you're new to it and you've never used tobacco products in your life and everybody's all excited about nicotine, way too strong generally on the market. Anyway, so that's kind of so nicotine is one of the great things in the world in the sense of tobacco's the king. There's 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion people in the world that use tobacco almost every day, nicotine almost every day. We think about our Southern California cannabis culture. That's a very small amount of people who are using that. Actually, when you look at the bigger numbers, I was crossing the border one time from Kingston, New York, into Kingston, New York from Ontario, Canada. And we just stopped the bus. I was with my crew and we just wanted to rest. And so I was talking to the border guard there because no one was there. And I said, how come you always ask like alcohol, tobacco, and firearms? You know, you always go through that list with us when everybody's crossing the border. And I said, don't you have cannabis coming across this border? And she said, we have 100 times more tobacco coming across this border than cannabis.
Oh.
And that was really a wake up call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in my little world, I thought, oh, people can be smoking cannabis. Not in the bigger, no, tobacco's way bigger, way more people.
So why is that? Does it make you feel better?
It's because tobacco's a true nootropic. So it improves your focus and concentration. It improves your acuity, your sensory acuity. So for example, like if I'm tracking something with eye movements, like of baseball players, it improves your reflexes, it improves your eye speed. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why tobacco is used by people. Like if you're a supermodel, it's because it's suppressing your appetite.
Yeah.
Right? Or let's say you just are in a situation where you're like, you know, you want to spend the time, you know, just like getting away from everything. It's also like it's a ritual. You know, people go and smoke a cigarette. It's like a ritual that they do. So for all those reasons and a lot more, there's a lot more, you know, tobacco users historically, before they turned it into hot dogs with all the chemicals, the 4,000 chemicals, tobacco users always lived longer. So it suppresses aging. Yes. And there's very strong evidence of that.
Where can we find that information about?
You know, I'm very pleased with my friend Dr. Artis, who's broke the news. You know, he finally got it out there, but you have to kind of dig into the literature.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, if you use an AI, a lot of people using AIs now, Gemini, ChatGPT, punch in, just say, give me the top 20 benefits of nicotine. You'll be shocked. You'd be shocked. And there's, you know, we could say things, for example, if I take an edible nicotine, okay, this is really good for blood pressure. I've always had high blood pressure since I was 14 years old. So I have this edible nicotine that I was getting from my shaman friends in Mexico. I was in Mexico and I was actually eating it at the time. And I go in to see my doctor friend and he's going to do all the IVs on us. But first thing they do is take your blood pressure. 120/80. I was like, it's in my mouth. I was like, whoa, what? It's never 120/80.
Yeah.
It's always been 140/90, 140/95. You know, it's always been, unless I fast. And when I fast about day 9, 10, 11, 12, it gets back to 120/80.
Wow.
So that was real evidence to me. I was like, whoa, okay, there's something to this. He's doing something. And it's immediate.
Okay.
It's immediate. So that was interesting. And just, there's so many things.
There's different delivery systems as well. You can smoke it.
Yep.
You can put it in your mouth and your epithelial, that really thin tissue that absorbs things. And then there's Hape.
Yes, the Hape. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
Put it in your nose and be very ritualistic. You know, I love to set an intention and really gives you like about a 7-minute just calm. Where the whole world melts away.
Probably the best way to do it. I mean, in our community, yeah, it's kind of displaced. Like cannabis became kind of like, you know, I need to focus. I got work to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we did like that ritual, like we had, you know, where you go smoke a cigarette, but we can't do that. It's just too toxic. So this Hape became the thing. And so that's really a fun thing where you sit down with somebody and it's like, okay, just take a deep breath. And I like doing it with somebody else. I don't like doing the selfie thing, you know?
Yeah.
So, and you have a little bit of tobacco powder, usually has some other herbs mixed into it. And you basically take a little bit into what's called a tepi. It's kind of a straw.
I thought it was a carupe.
Or tarupa or kurupe or,
okay.
You know, everybody has their names for it.
I'm just learning.
Oh, you're just learning this. Okay. And then we would sit down, we'd like look at each other. Okay, are you ready? Okay. And you'd be like, okay. And then you kind of lock your, you know, that Jalandhara Bandha, you know, the yogis know about that. You kind of lock your throat a little bit because you don't want the tobacco going all the way down your throat.
Right.
And then I'll sit there and I'll just go, okay, you ready? And go, doof, and I just blow it up one side.
It burns.
And it burns. It burns.
It feels like it's going to your brain and you're just like, woo, that was rough. But then you're just so calm.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then we do the other side. So we try to get both sides in.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that, like, you know, if you've had trouble letting go of cannabis, if you had trouble letting go of alcohol, this is really helpful because it kind of like, it gets you out of that. You know, the biggest problem, in my opinion, with humanity is overthinking.
Yeah.
It just knocks it right out. Boom. Yeah. All those thoughts and all the stuff that's constantly torturing us blows it right out.
Feels like a meditative prayer. So I have a girlfriend that will do it about once a month. She comes over and we're like, want to do Hape? And she's the only one I do it like once a month just with her. And we'll set an intention. We'll hold hands. We'll like lay down on the carpet and just let the world melt away.
Totally.
Just like love on each other in such a, like a nurturing, nourishing way. And it's so special.
It's so special.
We all know that an essential piece of staying hydrated is electrolytes. Electrolytes, what are those? Those are basically minerals in a liquid solution. And not all electrolytes are made the same. We want one that has all the building blocks for life so that we can build healthy new cells. And the way we do that is having all of our minerals and trace elements balanced and complete. And that's why I love Nicotine minerals. Not only do you get all 78 trace elements that your body needs, but Nicotine is cold processed and harvested during the plankton bloom on the ocean's floor, where there's so much bioenergetic information that pertains to life. And they capture that information in this double tip ampule. So all you do is open the ampule, put it in your favorite drink, in your water, or you can even put it under your tongue.
You know, I kind of go in and out of it. You know, like right now I'm waiting for that, actually. I'm waiting for like a moment where I can really sit down with somebody and really do like a proper ritual.
Yeah, we should do it after this.
Okay. Shall we do it?
You should do it.
Oh, okay, well, we're going to do it. It's an amazing delivery system for nicotine.
Yeah.
And then that, I guess that brings us around to the
Tell us
point.
about that. Like, why is it an amazing delivery system? How is it different? How does it work different in our physiology?
Generally what's happening with, let's say, like a chew, like some of these big, brands, they're very chemicalized like the cigarettes are. And even the stuff that's coming out in the market today that's not actually tobacco-derived nicotine that people are putting in their gut, between their cheek and gum, it's irritating the gums. I was just with my dentist and he was talking to me. He's seen a lot of inflammation in the gums.
Okay.
So, we want to look for a better delivery system. And one of the best delivery systems is right through the nose because you're able to hit the mucosa. It's an ancient way of doing tobacco. It's over 10,000 years old. And what it does, it gets right to that cribriform plate, that area, the frontal cortex of the brain. It kind of touches your nasal cavities, your sinuses. And this is interesting because tobacco affects the frontal cortex. This is one of the theories as to why nicotine increases lifespan, is because it activates the frontal cortex of the brain, improves the blood flow into and out of the frontal cortex, like word puzzles do, by the way, right? Crossword puzzles are like that too. And so to get it directly there is interesting, right? And so there's something about it. Now, I've known people who do Hape 5 times a day and they love it. And, their sinuses can take it.
Yeah.
Not everybody, like my sinuses can take it.
That was going to be my question because you're putting, a powder up your nose and the next day I'll have a brown booger. I'll have like just something brown.
Yeah, it's kind of like, whoa. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, it can drain later, right? So what's because I always wonder, is this not good for my sinuses? Is this getting trapped in my sinus cavity?
Yeah, there will be some of the powder will get trapped in there. Now, it's really depends on the quality of the tobacco. That's why it has to be quality. Like I'm a tobacco grower. I've never used a chemical on my property ever. We're certified organic, certified biodynamic. So I don't mind if it comes from my farm. If it comes from Amazonian shamans that I know or have met, okay, I don't mind it. I don't mind because, if it's going to sit in my nasal cavity until my body flushes it out a day later, a week later, 2 months later, whatever, I'm okay with that because tobacco is sacred and holy. But if it's just any old stuff, it's like, no.
So you are advising the audience to be careful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't just have any tobacco.
Right. It's, it's like anything.
But that's we're talking about this and there's a lot of generalities, right? So people could hear this and go, oh, I'm going to just start doing Hape because this is going to make my brain healthier or whatever.
Yeah, better focus.
Yeah, and so there's caution.
There's caution for sure. You can't validate what's out there. And even some of the companies that are distributing Hapes, as I got deeper into finding out who they are, it's like, oh, they're basically not paying the people that are making it properly. You know what I mean? There's not real like a real chain of custody where we can say, okay, everybody along the chain of custody is happy. Yeah. Right. And that affects all foods and medicines. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. And so that's a thing for me. And so that's why I haven't been doing it because, every now and then I'll make my own Hape for my own tobacco. And, I have fun with that because it's, it's a homemade thing. It's a ritual. Yeah. And you're putting the intention into it, but I haven't done it in a while. Okay. I've been traveling. I mean, this is the last day of my traveling. I'm going to head back to Hawaii. Today's it. So
yeah. I'm going to go visit you there soon. Okay. So to recap on the nicotine, so the delivery systems, are there any other delivery systems I don't know of that we didn't speak about?
You could make tobacco tea, of course.
Okay.
And now that you have to be careful because nicotine is very toxic, right? If you do too much, it has to be a very small amount. Of course, the ancient way is tobacco nicotine enemas. So they take the tea and put it in the other way, which is safer probably because your body, if you have too much, it's going to expel it out pretty intensely. I mean, violently, probably.
Yeah.
But that is a way that ancient shamans used to detoxify people. By the way, nicotine is a very powerful vermifuge or dewormer.
Really?
Yes. And that's another, tobacco kills insects. It's an insect eating plant. I had said that for many decades, actually. And finally, about 5 or 6 years ago, the botanical world came around to that position that tobacco and nicotine actually is dissolving insect debris on the leaves and absorbs their entire mineral structure and everything right through the leaves.
Okay.
So it's very interesting, but it's doing that to parasites too. So it's a good deep parasite killer. But
if you have a clean one.
If you have a clean one, that's right. Okay,
that's going to leave us to the topic of where do we find a clean tobacco?
You got to track down people like me, or you track down a good website and then really see if you can get that chain of custody where okay, it came from that tribe all the way to me. Like, for example, I work with the Watoto shamans in Colombia. And I've got their ambil, which is an edible tobacco. That was the one that was in my mouth when I went in to see my doctor. And he was doing the IVs and they did the blood pressure. My blood pressure was perfect. I was like, oh my God, what's going on?
Wow.
So I know those people, you know what I mean? It's so if you can track it down to the people who are actually making it, great. Or if you feel comfortable with the sourcing, great. But like anything, I've been in the natural foods business for 32 years. I've had people say, my stuff's the best thing ever. Upon investigation, we're like, their chemicals showed up in your stuff. We realized you weren't telling the truth or you didn't know who your supplier was.
Right. And that's a great point because sometimes you can have somebody who's running their company with a lot of integrity, but they're not aware of the supply chain of what's happening along the way. One of my really amazing mentors, Dr. Bob Marshall, he was a part of a class action lawsuit where like over 100 people, I think it was, died from a tryptophan supplement.
Yep.
And so he was one of 2 that survived.
Whoa.
All the people, I
didn't realize that.
He was one of 2 that survived. And so he committed his life and said, he made money in other things. And he said, I'm going to start a supplement company that I know no one will ever get sick from. And it was such an honor to be able to have him as a mentor and learn under him. But I learned so many things. And one of the things that he taught me was when they get their barrels from China or whatever country they're getting them from with the raw herb, a lot of companies will just take that COA and say
trust it.
It's trusted, right? You can't. What he would do, the first line of defense for them was the O-ring muscle test. They would literally have guys in white suits testing each other. If it tested off, they would send it back. And then if it passed the muscle test, then he would send it to his lab. He had his own lab where they could test and see is this ginseng or is it carrots that have been soaked in ginseng and ground up so there's the signature of ginseng in it or it smells like ginseng,
but it's not really
ginseng.
Trip out.
Right? And there's so many tricks. And he said also, when you're ordering, especially from China, you could have the first batch is amazing because they want to get your
business
trust and your business. And then maybe some people will third-party test the first couple and then they're like, yeah, we're good. It's been good. We're good. You can't trust that. You have to, each time the batch comes, you need to test and make sure. And you cannot trust the COA. It needs to be third-party tested.
So right on. It's so right on. That's why I've been going to Greece a lot lately because we're bringing about a bunch of food products from Greece. And it's like, I have to know, okay, where's this being, where's our olive oil pressed? I need to be in the facility. Who are the guys who are pressing it? Those are our guys.
Yeah.
They're on our payroll. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of stuff. And it's just what you learn in the food biz. You can't trust these guys. And it's of course, when you think about the tobacco industry, how many shenanigans have gone on in that industry.
Yeah.
Just be careful, everybody. Be careful what product you're using. And I will just want to mention again that, these snus and these products that people are selling that are in the pouches going into the gum, my dentist is calling me and going, I'm seeing a lot of gum problems from those. He's calling me and asking me about it. And I'm like, wow, interesting. Now, I have done like Mambe, for example, Mambe and Ambil from my friends of the Wutoto shamans down in Colombia. And I'm putting that on my gum, and I'm going to my dentist. He notices no problem.
Interesting.
And so that's interesting because other people are reporting problems from that, but
Do you
they're
think
not.
it's from the chemicals that are in it?
It's just too caustic. Yeah. Or they added baking soda to it or something, that is basically going to irritate your gums, if you hold it there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just all kinds of things like that, so we try to steer clear of, those kind of controversies. And that's why I'm not in the tobacco biz officially right now, is because I'm still crossing my T's and dotting my I's and getting everything dialed in. Like, we've been certified organic and certified biodynamic for tobacco on my farm, Noni Land, for like 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never sold that product because you have to go through the FDA stuff and all that stuff. I'll eventually go through it all. I'll eventually go through all those hoops, but it's a step-by-step thing.
Yeah, it takes some time. Thank you for sharing that. I think this is a really important conversation to have because it is such a buzzword right now.
Yep.
So many people are talking about it, and you can get somebody who's well-intended and like, oh, I heard nicotine's great. My aunt, who's in her 70s, messaged me and was like, she's like, tell me more about this nicotine. I've seen on YouTube how great it is. And it's like, oh man, it's like a lot of people are hearing about it.
They're hearing about it.
It's the end all be all. It's like the miracle. And like you spoke about, I mean, it has so many benefits,
Yes.
but the right dose, the right supplier, the right product, like it's come from the right source.
Yes.
And that is everything.
And then on top of that, you want a healthy lifestyle that supports all of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can't really think that a Band-Aid is going to cure us. We have to actually do the fundamental work: hydration, healthy lifestyle, movement, sunshine, making sure we get, good loving support from our family, or we're being loved. A big problem in our civilization is loneliness, massive issue.
Yeah. Communities.
Right? Communities, yeah. So, and then, too much in the head, being thinking too much, which loneliness really exacerbates that. So all the things, fit into a bigger picture of a healthy lifestyle, which nicotine can be part of that lifestyle, which is a crazy statement, but be careful.
I love that you brought that up. Thank you for mentioning that we need the foundations first.
Yeah.
Because many people are looking for the quick fix. I have a very exclusive, private coaching program that I do. I'll only select 9 people a year to be in my coaching program. And, they're very high level individuals who get things done. They're they just want to pay for it. And I've noticed, I'm like, no, you can't
have to
pay
do it
for your health. You can't give your money to all these, or buy these supplements, these gadgets, these biohacks without actually doing the work yourself. I teach you how to make it fun, because if these rituals that you just mentioned, if you can incorporate them into your life and you look forward to them and they're exciting and you make it playful, then you're going to want to do them. And the longevity in your life of maintaining movement every day, maintaining a healthy dose of sunlight, maintaining all of these, grounding rituals. If you can make it something that you're like, I can't wait to go do this, you'll keep doing it.
Yep.
And then, like you were talking about the community, it's like, I don't know how many people when people come over to visit me, instead of going out to dinner or whatever, I'm like, we're going to walk barefoot down to the cliffs. We're going to have an elixir in hand. We're going to be talking. And so we can really nail down a couple of those steps in one. We're connecting, we're in the blue space, we're grounding, we're getting the elixir, we're getting the sunlight. I mean, it's like almost all 9 pillars besides the sleep I'm able to do. We'll do some creative play down there. It's like, I don't know, you can make it really cool, but it's just changing the way that you think, right? Because most of the time when people want to meet up, they're like, let's get a coffee, let's go have dinner. And those are important things too. But I think just getting some movement in, and walking and talking with someone, it just gets all the juices flowing. You get excited.
The older you get, I'm 55. So I'm still thinking of I still think like I did when I was 25 or, 15. But you have more meetings and more business, more things, and you're stuck in a car more, in airports and airplanes. I'm telling you, any excuse to get barefoot and go drink an elixir and go walk down to the cliffs over here or whatever, take that opportunity. For me, I'm like, oh, thank God, this is not going to be some meeting in some office.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Like, as soon as you got here, I'm like, we're going to play. Come in my pantry and let's make something.
Yeah, that was great.
Let's get creative. Let's nourish ourselves. And it's something that it's not in our natural culture. So that was why I wrote my book, because I want to teach people how to just like get it into your lifestyle in a fun, playful way.
Yes.
It's like, we get to do this.
Yes.
Not we have to do it.
Yes.
We get to do it.
We get to. I love that reframe. And one of the things that we get to explore is this amazing world and all the amazing springs that are on this world.
Oh, let's get into that.
I want to get into that with you because we love that subject. And you know, when you said that, you're like, you get to, I was like, yeah, we get to. We are so insanely lucky.
One of my favorite things to do when I prep for the gym is to get my blood moving. And the way that I do that is by reducing inflammation and adding some nitric oxide to my blood. I love HydroShot. Not only does it taste delicious, but it has hydrogen gas infused into the can, as well as natural occurring nitric oxide from watermelon rind with green tea, and it's 0 calories.
That we can actually find out even just quickly on your phone where all the local springs are in your region or where they were. Like I tracked down the Crystal Spring that's near the old Los Angeles Zoo. That was one of the best springs in Los Angeles. Nobody knows about it. Nobody's there. It's still going. I mean, it's not the original flow it was, but it filled up a bottle quick. I was like, whoa, this thing's still going here. You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
and nobody's visiting it.
Nobody even had any idea it was there.
It is.
It's just our culture has gotten, used to faucets and used to the water being delivered in all these
pipes. Let's go
to
to Air One and buy
some
water.
Fancy thing.
But a lot of people don't know that they need to put gases and heat it and do different things to this bottled water in order to preserve it, because otherwise moss or bacteria or things are going to start growing in it. And so it's not in its natural state.
Never. It never is. Once the water's been bottled, it's not in its natural state. Plus the bottle itself has corners, or it's not an amphora like the Greeks and Romans had.
The water doesn't like it. It wants to play.
It wants to play. It wants to move. It loves that egg shape. It loves the spot where there's no spot to rest. So it stays in motion. And so that's what I love about going to springs is it's real. It's original. It's in the correct information that it's always had forever.
Yeah.
And you're tapping into that. Yeah. And one of the first things that happened to me when I first started getting into spring water hunting is I thought I had to turn it off. I would leave and I'd be like, I would have a feeling like I have to turn something off. It's like, that thing's running 24/7, 365 for thousands of years.
Flowing. Yeah.
It's crazy to think about that. It's like, how's it coming out of the ground? Like, why is it coming out of the ground? How could the ground, a lot of springs, for example, the ground is warmer than the spring water. Mm-hmm. The spring water is coming through the ground. Like, why isn't it the same temperature? Shouldn't it be the same? Or if it was pressure, like it was a hot spring, it'd be hotter. But no, the water's colder than the ground temperature. That's such a trip to me.
So trippy.
So interesting.
Nature is something that we can look at to always learn.
Yes.
Right? And so that's a benefit that we have. I love that you forage for water and look for different springs. I mean, that's some playtime in itself, right? Like, ooh, let's look for this.
Yeah.
Let's go on a little
hike. What a great hike.
Find it. Let's go on an adventure. And then when you're drinking spring water, it really just has a signature that is, it's native to that area, and that's where your body is in that moment in space and time, and that is this, there's this coherence of what your body needs and or what the water is.
It's like the terroir.
Yeah,
it's a terroir thing, isn't it?
It's magnificent.
It's magnificent.
Like something that you don't even need to think about, but you experience it and then you get it. You're like, oh my gosh, this is different. This is different than getting a $10 bottled water at Air One.
It's, this is the thing too, is like people ask me, well, okay, I live in Connecticut and we, the spring down the road from me, maybe there was a toxic waste dump nearby, or, there's always those concerns. There's thousands in most states, there's thousands of places that will test your water. They test well water every day. Like basically, like in my house in Ontario in Canada, it's 3 houses are on that spring. It's actually a real spring, bubbles up out of the ground, and it's not a well. So, the animals sometimes go in there. So my neighbor, who is one of the people who gets that water from us, she always tests it. That's her thing. And she's doing really good. She's like 74, 75. And, she's like, it's the water, it's the spring water. So we have piped spring water into our house with the spiral pipes, the whole show.
Nice.
And, every now and then there'll be bacteria in there like E. coli. So then we have to go down there and see what it is. This last time we went down there into the spring, and guess what it was? It was a mushroom. A
really?
mushroom had fallen into the pool and it was basically rotting in the pool. I was like, whoa, that's a mushroom. That tripped me out. And so, there's all kinds of learning that happens and dealing with a spring. Like right now, last night at my house, it was minus 31 centigrade. So luckily the guys who are at my house and the gals who are at my house, they're Canadians. They know what to do. And so they know how to protect the spring from, the equipment from freezing.
Yeah. I love that question or that topic that you brought up about how do you know if it's clean, right? Because a lot of people do think about that. Oh my gosh, this water coming out of the earth, aren't I supposed to filter it?
Yeah.
So what would you suggest? Because what if, a lot of people
you can send it in and have it tested,
but that costs money.
Yeah, sure. Another way you could do that, you could just do it. Just pour a glass out and leave it there. Does it smell? If it smells sulfury, or if it goes off, like, if it sits there for 3 days and you're like, whoa, that thing's like getting kind of like rotten or rancid, or there's organisms growing in it. Those are all telltale signs that your spring has bacteria in it. Now, if you're at a rock and the water's coming out of the rock, it will have no bacteria in it. But if it's my situation where basically what it was is this is an area in the forest where the water wells up. And so they boxed it in with tamarack, which is a wood that hardens really hard. It's a 10 by 10 by 10 box, a 10 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet box. And the water comes up from the clay below, fills the pool up, and then spills over. And then we put a building in on top of that and platforms to be able to walk on top of it. And then we basically pump that water out because all it's doing is just coming out of the ground and spilling over anyway. So we're just taking a little bit of what's happening naturally. That's how you box a spring. But there's a lot of problems with that because, you have it now in a building and then mice might fall in the pool or a mushroom might fall in the pool. And that's a little bit different than...
You need to keep testing.
You need to keep testing. You need to keep an eye on it. It's different if you're in a wild nature and, it's just a pipe and a rock and it's like, okay, that's going to be fine most of the time.
Yeah. And how often would you say it would be beneficial to test the spring? Like if you have a local spring that you want to go to and glean from, how often should you test it?
Well, my neighbor tests ours about once every month or so. Okay. And then we can tell right away. I'm glad she does it. I would never do it. I don't care. Every now and then I go and clean the thing anyway. But if there's, like E. coli in there, I'm not too worried about it because I know it's probably just like, a dead mouse or whatever. And I'm usually catch that. I usually will be down there and I'll basically skim the pool and get everything out of there. Most of the time I'll catch it in time. But it's nice to have somebody double check my work.
Absolutely. And then you bring in the vortexing. So if you have any concerns, I think spinning it through a vortex can be so beneficial because it's going to change the physics of it. It's going to change the structure and it's inherently going to change the way your body deals with that material. Or
water loves that spiral, right? It loves to spin around and swirl like a snake and do all those movements, twist and turn. So what we're doing, this is something amazing. I wonder if I have one of these for you. I've got to get one for you. If you come to Hawaii, I have one for you there. For years, we were always working on spiral pipes. So we'd crimp a pipe to make it spiral. And this is, the strategy. One day, a friend of mine who I was working on this with, he's like, why don't we just create an insert that just goes into the pipe? And I was like,
you're like, duh.
Oh my God, we're such idiots. Oh my God. So now we do it that way, where we just put the insert into the pipe so it impels a spiral motion. And we have one. So in our spring, for example, it pulls the water out, the pump pulls the water out, it starts to go down the line. There's a spiral pipe there, goes under the ground all the way up to the house. There's another spiral pipe there. And then at every outlet, there's a spiral pipe. Wow. So it's at minimum triple spiraled. Also on our kitchen sink, it has to go through a battery. We basically created a tube full of crystals compressed. And the water is forced to go through that. Years ago, a guy, a martial artist from Toronto, showed me that if you put crystals under pressure in water, it will kill off all bacteria.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting discovery. And so we set it up that way. That's how my kitchen sink is.
That's the way my vortexer has it. It has sacred crystals. It's 24 karat gold plated. And then it has the left and right spin with the Fibonacci sequencing. So all of that together is really helping alleviate that stress in your mind that there's something in there because nature knows what to do.
Totally.
It knows to throw off what you don't need and bring in the minerals that you do.
That's right.
And we still don't understand how, like, it's so supernatural that our brains can't comprehend it, but we can see what it's doing. And it's like,
and partake in it too. That's what I love about it. It's like a mystery you can partake in. It's like
yeah,
every day you're at that spring and you're like, how is the spring this temperature? Like say the spring's coming out at Fahrenheit 46 degrees. The temperature of the earth itself is like 56 degrees.
Yeah.
The temperature outside might be 75 degrees Fahrenheit.
yeah.
What's going on?
Blowing.
Mind blowing.
Well, water defies all nature, really.
Yeah.
Its own thing. It has its own intelligence. So what can we learn about finding a spring? If somebody is like, oh, this sounds interesting, how do they get started?
Well, findaspring.org is a great website. I'm sure you're familiar with that, and everyone should be familiar with that website. And also, if you want to put a spring on there, it's great to add springs on there from all over the world. So we've added springs in there.
Your own.
Yeah, like in Germany, we've been in Australia, and it's all that website's worldwide. Another thing is just realizing that you have a sense of this. For example, if you live in the northern hemisphere, generally the springs are going to be on the other side of the mountains or hills from the sun. The sun's in the south. So they're going to want to hide from the sun. See, in the cooler, more shaded environments with more tree cover, the spring water wants to come out more. When the sun's directly baking on it, no, that's not going to. A hot spring, sure, it'll come out in front of the sun, doesn't care. But a cold spring, no. It's going to want to avoid that direct sun hit. It's trying to protect itself, actually. And you'll see that. The water comes out cold in a glade. There would be covered over with all these bushes and all these trees, keep the shade. And then it goes down the hill and gathers more water. Next thing you know, you got a creek going, but it's all shaded, right? And cool. So it's really an fascinating phenomenon. I've been at this for 32 years. As a spring water hunter.
I've been doing it for a
long time.
Yeah.
And so some of the things I've seen, I'm telling you, it's one of the greatest hobbies. If you're a traveler like me, that's a kind of a karma. I'm a born traveler. And this is a great hobby to have if you're a traveler. If you're someone you're really interested in geology and the area you're living in, great hobby. Because you can figure out like, okay, we've got this geology. There's a fault line here. The sun's in the south over there. We probably should see a spring coming out right over here. Wow. And sure enough, every now and then you get lucky and you're like, my God. And when you have successes like that, it's
exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting, and it really builds your confidence. It's like that you have an instinct. We're human beings with instincts. We still have them.
Yeah.
And where the water is. And when it all comes together, you're like, what do you know? What do you know? Such a cool thing.
I was being led here.
Yeah.
I was being drawn. The water was drawing me. So, okay, we're going to have to do that sometime. I want to go, when I go to
spring water. Yeah, I'll take you to the springs there. Yeah.
Take me to some springs.
That's really fun.
We'll get some video for you guys so you can see it. Okay, so you've been doing this for over 30 years. I started having live water ship water to me because I actually want to test it in our lab and get some ideas. But the deuterium levels are lower on, I think it was like 139, which is less than San Diego water. Right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I was pretty excited about that. I don't think they realized that it's deuterium depleted to some effect, But like in Colorado, most people are like at a 136 there.
Wow. Okay.
Like for reference, most people are at a 155. That's like, especially if you live near the ocean, San Diego, it's like you're going to get about 155. So it was like 136. And I was like, wow, that's interesting because just based on where you live, you could be a little bit more deuterium depleted, which is huge for.
It appears the further north you go. I mean, that's what the research shows. Like, for example, Iceland, you might be able to get a water there, like a glacial melt that's 129. That's we're 130.
Wow.
That's not out of the question. So that's DDW water or deuterium depleted water, which I think your audience probably knows.
Yeah, about. They know about.
They know about that stuff.
Explain it though to them because for new listeners.
Okay, so basically, deuterium has too much neutrons in it. It has too much. It's basically heavy hydrogen. For years, that's how science develops. Everyone was like, "No, it's fine. It's the same as hydrogen." But in the 1930s, I'm trying to think of this guy's name, Paul Frank or something like that. He started experimenting, interestingly, with tobacco seeds. I don't know if you know this.
Really?
Yeah. And he was trying to grow tobacco seeds in various different ratios of deuterium-rich water.
Okay.
And he found that D2O, like very high deuterium water, would not sprout seeds.
Oh, wow.
Would not sprout seeds. And in fact, it was a dose-dependent toxicity. The more deuterium, the more toxic.
Really?
Yes. And it was tobacco seeds. And then eventually, of course, the Russians were the next to kind of get onto the deuterium thing. They figured out that if you dry fast, that's what it was. Alternative dry fasting. Fast on water for a day, then on nothing, then water for a day, then on nothing, that you could start driving the deuterium out of your system, which indicates that we have a detoxification mechanism for this stuff.
Yeah, we do.
That was also interesting. And then came the Hungarians, who really brought us kind of where we are today, which is they were the ones who realized that, like, hey, when you reach like 156, you're going to have a diagnosis.
Yeah. Your metabolic system is going to suffer.
Yeah.
Like, our whole metabolic health changes. I am my own guinea pig on everything that I do. I was deuterium depleted, drinking 10 ppm for about 4.5 years.
Wow.
And on my in-body scan, I would even travel with it. Like, I would say, forget the clothes. I'm taking a big
thing of deuterium depleted water.
Yeah.
Best ever.
I was committed. And I went from 17% body fat on my in-body scan to 13%. And the whole time I was on deuterium depleted, I was like, 13.2, 13.5, 13.3. Like, it would just like in the same range. I got off of deuterium depleted water, and within 3 months of getting off of it, I went up to 16.5% body fat.
Interesting.
Didn't change anything in my work.
Wow.
Didn't change my diet. And so I want to start researching this more and looking into it, but we know it impacts metabolic health.
For sure. Yeah, I could definitely say that. I could definitely say that when I fast and dry fast, it's immediately my metabolic health improves. And I'm overdue for one, right? It's like I can feel it. I tell them like, you can feel, especially at my age.
Feel the inflammation.
You can feel the inflammation, right? And so all of a sudden you go, and the most powerful anti-inflammatory, of course, is water, deuterium depleted water, actually specifically. So you start drinking that water, and especially with nothing else interfering, the inflammation takes about 4 days, 5 days, and all of a sudden you go, whoa, the inflammation's down. You notice it. You're like, okay, I got it. Then it takes about 9 days, and you're like, on the water fasting and dry fasting, you start going, okay, here we go.
You just feel different.
You feel like you did when you're 25.
I feel so different. And I know that deuterium depleted water is an investment. It's super expensive, and not everyone can afford that. So the ways that we deplete deuterium, like you said, is we can fast, dry fast. We can do that alternating
dry fast
and fasting with water. Also a ketogenic diet. Mm-hmm. So most of the deuterium is in the carbs, fruit. It's in the grains, and the fruit that's closest to the equator, like tropical fruit, is the most amount of deuterium. So if you deplete that from your diet and you're doing more, animal products, and I do low glycemic fruits like blueberries and things like that, but a ketogenic diet.
That's very important, by the way, because I've known people doing ketogenic diet and got scurvy. Yeah. They got so far into it, they've started realizing, like, they didn't realize, they failed to realize, like, you actually need some fruit.
Till it was too late.
Till it's too late, right? It's like, you need some fruit in your diet just to be happy. It's fruit's happy, but you don't want to have all this, like, super sugared out banana stuff, or, things are just too sugary, right? These sugary smoothies. You always want that drink, that elixir, to be just at that sweet spot.
Yeah.
But
like we
not
had
that
today.
Sugary spot. We hit that today, didn't we? It was just right there. And so that's just it. That's just something you learn in the nutrition field. It also keeps you from drinking things too quickly, right? If it's or eating things too quickly. If it's like too sweet, your impulses get a hold of you, and all of a sudden you ate the whole thing. You're like, oh my God, that's not good.
Yeah. No, yeah. So we want to deuterium deplete by the ketogenic diet. Laszlo's Boros, he's one of the world's leading researchers in isotopes. And I asked him, when I interviewed him on the show, I'm like, how do you deplete? He does not drink deuterium depleted water. He drinks barely any water. He says the only water he drinks is like in the morning, he'll have like 4 ounces of like a ginger tea. And if he gets super thirsty, he'll drink like olive oil or.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So,
interesting.
And he eats a ketogenic diet, and he's very deuterium depleted.
Okay, interesting.
So, I mean, I don't know. I love my water, and I love to drink water. So that would be.
It's hard to be a traveler, without drinking water, because those planes dehydrate you. I mean, I was talking the other day about, I had a swimsuit. So I was like leaving, I think I was leaving Hawaii, and I was going to take you to this place I'm going to take you where the spring is. And I was like swimsuit was all wet because we were swimming in the river there. And then I went straight to the airport from there. And so, I'm trying to squeeze this thing out, but it's basically wet, so I'm like, can't put it in the suitcase. I had my backpack going into the flight and I had it hanging off my backpack. And so when I was in the flight, I just literally laid the pants, the swimsuit off my legs, wet, and pulled the pockets out so the thing would hopefully dry out a little bit. That thing was within 6 hours or 5 hours, whatever that flight is, bone dry.
Oh my God.
Bone dry. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
I was like, whoa, these planes
Really dehydrate
you.
Yeah. So when I'm on the airplane, I have a lot of hacks that I do. I would love to hear your hydration hacks for traveling.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing that's really important is you got to prepare before, during, and after, and you got to get hydrated before, you got to hydrate during, and you got to hydrate after. And it becomes more and more important the older you are. Another hack that, of course, as soon as you get out of the airport, get on the ground, right? The grounding is very important. We get depleted of electrons being up there and you're getting fried. You're in a little tube, we can hear those tubes up there. You're in this tube,
I know.
and it's like 40,000 feet most of the way. So you're close to the sun.
Yeah.
It's better to fly at night because you're not getting fried by the sun. Because that
interesting.
tube, that fuselage is being radiated. It becomes an electron attractor. And so anyway, that's a good hack. And so what I like to do when I come out of Hawaii and I come back to California is I take that night flight, departs like 10 or 11 at night.
Okay.
And then you're in here by 6 in the morning.
Okay. So
that's a good way to go.
Sleep on the airplane?
Sleep on the airplane. Yeah.
All right.
So I try to work as hard as I can, put my pillow around and just
go to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good hack. Any other hydration hacks?
Well, I'm a very big fan of the different gels. Like we had some aloe vera today. My God, the power of that. And so ancient peoples and native peoples knew the power of gels for hydration. Like, when you soak chia seeds and it creates a gel, demulcents essentially, right? That category, like honey's kind of a demulcent. It has a hydrating quality. You can get in Greece, you can get arbutus honey that has no sugar in it.
Really? I've never tried this.
That's really cool stuff and very hydrating, really nice because it has no sugar, but it's honey.
Okay.
So you're like, oh, this is, but it is a little toxic.
Yeah.
So you can't have too much of it. It kind of hits you like nicotine hits you. Like at a point, you're like, okay, I'm good. It's like that. But very nice in tea. And, if you're just doing like a nice hydrating sea salt, water, and arbutus honey, excellent. Good. That's a good hack.
Where can we source that if we don't live in Greece?
Hard to source it. I mean, they grow these trees here in Southern California.
The arbutus?
The arbutus, yeah. Oh. And it's the tree strawberry. Do you know that?
No.
Tree strawberry?
I didn't know that.
It's related to the other arbutus. There's the famous ones in Northern California, but obviously they're distant relatives because these are native to the Mediterranean. And the tree strawberry produces a pollen that, the bees can turn into a honey with no sugar in it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
That is such a fun thing.
Sell it here in the U.
You'd have to maybe Greek markets, hunt down to Greek markets. Eventually I'll get that honey over here with the next shipment of stuff that we do.
Okay.
But it's a limit, I'm basically, now that I'm shipping over olive oil and olives and stuff from Greece, I'm just throwing more stuff on the pallet.
Might as well.
Yeah, might as well. It's like that. So one of the things I'm going to throw on there is that, but I won't have much of it. But it's a start anyway.
I want to try it. Okay.
It's a fun one. I'll save one for you. How's that sound?
Please. That would be amazing. Before we close out, I want to talk a little bit about olive oil because I'm obsessed with olive oil. I love it. Olive oil is such a topic because people think that they are drinking or using olive oil. And for example, a lot of people in our culture love Costco. You go to Costco and you can get, I don't even know, I haven't been there in years, but huge thing of olive oil.
Right.
What are they actually?
Okay, so it's cut. Almost all that stuff's cut with water. It's cut with cottonseed oil. It's cut with soybean oil. Cut with corn oil. Cut with sunflower oil. I mean, it's just not really olive oil. Plus, it's in plastic.
Yeah.
Olive oil is an oil. It's a fat. You don't want that stuff in plastic. It's miscible in plastic. So we try to get from the source all the way through the process, like chain of custody thing. Every step of the way, the whole thing is either in like the what are those things? It's like a burlap material.
Okay.
That's where we collect the olives in. Okay. And then that goes right into the machines and comes right into glass. That's the best.
Let's talk about the cold processing because when you're like, remember Rally's olive oil?
Yeah.
Where they press it on ice.
Yep. I've been to their farm many times. Love them.
Pressing creates the friction creates heat, right? So when they say cold processed, is it really cold processed because that friction's creating the heat? So how do you keep that cold?
It's a colder processing than what's going to happen in the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, in the industry, they don't care. So stuff's like it's like fried.
Yeah.
You know, when it goes through that process.
It's totally oxidized.
Yeah, it's totally oxidized and fried. So what you're trying to do with that process is you're trying to keep it as cool as possible. Now, olive oil is very resistant to heat for a monounsaturated fat. I would probably rank it as the highest, actually. For a monounsaturated fat, it's probably the most stable oil of them all. And so if you can keep the process, it's not really a cold process. I would say you're keeping it a warm process.
Yeah.
Instead of it getting super heated, which all those machines get super heated. And if you can keep an eye on that, and that's what we have to do. And I work with people who've been doing that for years, like the Rallis brothers, but other people as well. Then you can get it through the process. And when it comes out, it's glowing. And it's actually luminescent.
Yeah.
Actually, it's amazing.
Beautiful.
I've filmed this on my social media and put this out there. Like, you know, what a real cold pressed or, you know, really warm pressed olive oil looks like. It's luminescent.
Yeah.
And so then you're going to get the oleocanthal, you're going to get the oleocene, you're going to get the oleorupine, you're going to get the tyrosol, you're going to get the hydroxytyrosol. Those are some of the big ones that we're looking for in the phenols. And if you deliver that, then you get all those benefits like heart protective, longevity. I would say if we had to say the two big longevity things, nicotine and olive oil. Those are the facts. That's the reality of this world. Now, obviously, they could intoxicate those things, and they do. So you got to get quality.
Yeah, that's the new model diet.
Yeah, that's it. And I will say more about olive oil because I've been in it. I was just in 1,000-year-old olive grove.
Wow.
That is such a
This property that I live on here.
This looks like an old.
You'll look.
These trees are.
There's hundreds of years old.
Yeah, they're like 200 or 300 years old.
These all over. This used to be an olive grove.
And so what you can do, by the way, is you can just go clip some of the leaves off that and put it in your tea. The older that the olive tree gets, the better tasting are the leaves.
Really?
The younger that they are, it's more like bitter and all the other things. But when they get to a certain age, it's like the leaves taste good. I mean, so you make a tea out of it, you're like, this is good.
Tell the listeners what olive leaf is good for.
Olive leaf is rich in oleorupine. Oleorupine is a very powerful aromatase inhibitor and a very powerful antimicrobial. And it's what gives olives their like kind of yellowish green look, you know, when they are in that stage. It's also what gives that look to the leaves. And oleorupine is actually found through the whole olive tree, but very concentrated in the leaves. Very powerful antiviral too, very powerful. Why an aromatase inhibitor is very important is because as you age, you don't want your good hormones like progesterone in women and testosterone in men to flip over and become toxic estrogens. Oleorupine blocks that. And this is, in my opinion, one of the main reasons why olive oil is so anti-aging is it protects your hormone system. Now, what's interesting is that in my life, I had noticed that in certain times, I'm completely unaffected by cannabis. And I mean unaffected, like it's like doesn't have any effect on me. And I was always like, is it a metabolism thing or something?
DNA.
Eventually, I realized it was if I'm saturated in olives and olive products like olive oil, that is probably the oleorupine. It blocks in my system, it blocks the uptake of because cannabinoids are estrogens.
Yeah.
And there's something going on there that I eventually realized. I was like, oh, it's blocking.
That's crazy.
Crazy, yeah. And it will completely block it in my metabolism where I have no effect. And I was just like, wow, but it took a while to figure that one out. Something to do with oleorupine.
I love how you're always thinking about this and you're coming up with things that probably haven't even been written, but it's like, maybe it's been written somewhere, but you're really intuitive. I love that. What else should we know about olive oil? When somebody's at the grocery store and they're like, which olive oil do I pick? How do they know what the best one is?
Get something in glass. Get something with a story behind it. Like, for example, if somebody's saying our product is cold pressed, our product is organic, our product is certified biodynamic, our product comes from Italy or Greece or Spain, some of the old growing areas, or, there's certain areas of Syria, Israel, and Lebanon also that have those ancient olive groves, or even North Africa too. So you got to kind of put all the pieces together and see if you can pick out a really good product. So I look for glass. I look for old world growing regions. Not to say the California ones aren't good. There's good ones, but they're not. It's a big difference when you're dealing with an orchard that's been like there for 200 years or 500 years. Big difference.
Yeah.
And some of the ones coming out of Crete. Crete's an amazing area of Greece. We usually work with the growers in Crete. I've worked with the growers in Spain too, and North Africa and Italy. But I personally like the olive oils coming out of the northwest part of Crete and the western part near Pylos of grease.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my personal favorite.
So we also want to think about sourcing, because a lot of olive oils, they will mix from different vineyards, right?
Right.
Do we want to, like, a single source is probably
That's
better,
another
right?
good, yeah, right. That's like a terroir. So single origin, I think, is what they say, you know, so it's just coming from that particular farm. And so, you know, for example, like we produce an olive oil that comes from this 1,000-year-old olive trees. Those trees are so epic and the whole thing is so incredible. It's actually the only olives I've ever been able to eat them unripe right off the tree.
Oh, really?
You know, normally you can't do
Yeah, they're
that.
very bitter.
They're acrid.
Yeah.
But these you can, because the trees are so old. I don't know, something changes.
Shrivel up.
Yeah, you're like, what the heck? What is
what
this?
I've made out of the olives, though, the raw olives, is lip gloss. I've like smashed it down,
interesting.
and
Okay.
it has this nice like rosy color to it. And then I put a little olive oil and a little honey and used it as a lip gloss, and it's beautiful.
Those combinations, by the way, like figs, honey, olives, you know, those ancient Mediterranean combinations, capers, what a combination. So that's kind of, you know, that's what my diet is kind of is, you know, like capers are really high in quercetin, the highest of anything. Olive oil, you know, capers are so good.
Yeah.
You get them out of the back of your fridge, use them.
Yeah, capers are amazing. Capers and olive oil.
Oh, combos, amazing. And in the old world, sometimes you can find, today you see capers are always preserved in like a vinegar or something. But you can, in the old world, like I was in Croatia a few years ago and saw them preserved in olive oil.
Oh, wow.
My God, was that good.
Okay.
Oh, so good.
I'll have to find that. So, okay, the next question is, we want to be careful about light, because a lot of these are in bottles that light is able to get into, especially the plastic.
Right.
But we want, like, I love it when the companies take enough time to put it in a bottle that is not exposed to light. Or sometimes they'll put like foil around it or something to prevent light hitting.
Yes.
Tell us why that's important.
Photooxidation is a big problem with all oils. So oils will oxidize and they'll go rancid eventually just from light. So, you know, light and oxygen are related to each other.
Yeah.
And so if you kind of step down the energy from light, you go to, you know, light, and then you go to maybe to electricity, then to oxygen. You know, they're all connected. And therefore, even if you have a sealed product, it can still get photooxidized and it can break down from light. I like Myron glass a lot. You know, I've used Myron glass. I've had, you know, we've done projects where we had Myron glass etched, you know, and had it sent to Spain, and then they filled the bottles up there at the Spain, you know, olive oil orchard, and then they shipped it back to us, and, you know, stuff like that. But it
maintains the integrity.
It maintains the integrity. And so, you know, I'm a Myron glass, you know, fanatic, but we have to work with what we can get also in Greece. So right now we're packaging in basically like a black glass, which is really nice. I got to get you. You never had my ancient geometry, huh?
No.
Oh, this is the last day of my trip, so I'm out of everything. But I still have a few tricks up my sleeve, so stay tuned. Anyway, so that's a really good one. And then, you know, we basically try to keep the olive oil in a dark, cool place. It's okay to put in the fridge, you know, if you're not going to use it. But once you start using it, you don't want to because in the refrigerator, it will solidify, and then it will melt, and then solidify and melt. That, to put it through those phase changes consistently is not good. So you can store it in the refrigerator, great place to store it. But once you start using it, leave it out in a cool cupboard somewhere. So it's not going back to a solid, but so therefore it's easier to use, but it's not getting exposed to light.
Yeah. And I try to use mine within 30 days. I don't need to even think about it, because I just basically drink olive oil. But
you're like me. I mean,
love it.
Thank God.
I'm obsessed. Like,
there's people like us out there.
Have a little bit of potato with my olive oil. You know, it's like the food is mostly olive oil. But
that is
so awesome.
I think you're the only other person I've ever heard say that. Like, I like a little bit of food with my olive oil.
A little food with my olive oil. I mean, I even like douse my body when I'm traveling and I feel a little dehydrated, or like, it's great for everything. Even if I forget my face wash, which often I forget my face wash, I'll just go get some olive oil and like rub my face, take my makeup off.
Great. Okay. So I'm so happy to hear that, because there's so many cosmetic products that are just basically knockoffs of just what olive oil can do by itself.
Yeah.
And I just love hearing that people are still using just straight olive oil. That's so cool.
Remover. I know for the acne prone girlies, that can cause a little bit of breakouts. So you need to be careful, cautious with that. But I've never had it break me out. I think that it's always made my skin feel so good. And then Like when I'm in the bathtub, I'll pour a little bit of olive oil in the bathtub
nice.
and like just let it get on my, because it helps like hydrate your skin and just soften everything up.
It's, if you think about longevity, it's like we got to go with where the action is and like what has the track record. You know what I mean? It's like it has the track record.
It does.
Beauty, longevity, also just, joints and just your overall feeling of well-being. You can't
juicy joints.
Juicy joints.
Yeah, I don't have that like cracking or stiffness. And I think it is because I have so much olive oil.
It's, I've been able to see, I've been around the world a few times now, and I've been able to see like how the Greeks really live and, how well they're doing in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. And it's a big difference from what we see here in the West.
Yeah.
People are really like, you never see like 90-year-olds running around their farm here in the U.S.
No.
You do it. It happens. It's not typical, but it can happen. But over there, it's kind of common. You'd be like, whoa, that dude's 90?
What else are they going to do?
Yeah.
My brother he owns a company where they clean pools and stuff, and he works mostly at elderly communities. And he's like, these people, he's like, it's so sad when they become retired. They have nothing to talk about except for like if the pool temperature is 1 degree higher or lower.
Yeah.
I mean, or like talking about just they need to find something to be upset about or some drama to bring into their lives to make it exciting.
This is one of the biggest issues of our whole society. It's like, if you could just get everyone back on the farm, it solves like the homeless crisis. It solves also, like what are you going to do with aging parents or aging relatives or people in old folks' homes? You get them back on a farm. There's so many interesting things to talk about. There's, okay, what are we going to do? Okay, we're going to go to the horses today. Okay, what are we going to do? Okay, we're going to get in we're going to get in the truck and we're going to go, plant these, almond trees or whatever it is. It's just always something to do.
And then you're getting all the things, the sunlight, the ground.
And you're moving.
You're the movement.
And you're
getting
thinking.
All that stuff. And that's why these people it's not how many years we live, it's the life in our years, right? And in America, I feel that the thing that we're not doing well is I go to convalescent homes and elderly homes with my father a lot. And these people, it feels like they've been thrown away. What are they doing? They're laying in beds watching TV. And they're just rotting, deteriorating because their mind's not being used. They're not like connecting in the ways that they could, like on a farm or, being able to move their bodies. And I mean, I know they do it a little bit, but it's not to the level that we need to thrive.
Yes. My dad's 88. He broke his leg. So he's in one of those situations. I was just there the other day. We went in to check him out and he'll be out of there soon. Thank God. But my God, it was heartbreaking.
It's depressing.
It's heartbreaking.
You go in there and, you just put your hand on someone and they start sobbing because they haven't been touched like in a meaningful touch. Maybe they've been given a bath, getting it done. But to really look someone in the eyes and touch them, they're just like, they melt.
There's so many solutions. I always go to solutions for that. It's like our homeless crisis. It's like, okay, we have a homeless crisis. Let's get those people back on a farm. Let's get elderly people talking to those people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, there's a lot of wisdom there that's being thrown away, right? It's a great combination. This $24 billion or whatever they're throwing away at home, fix the homeless problem in California. Didn't work. The money disappeared.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so much easier than that. It's let's get back to the basics. And one of the basic things is that direct touch with the earth, that direct connection with our food, that direct connection with our water, the direct connection with where the water's coming from and how the whole geology works. And that to me is like, it's forever interesting.
Yes.
Over 30 years I've been at this and my God, I'm shocked and amazed all the time. Things happen. I'm like, what is going on here? Trips me out.
Yeah. I love it. I love our conversations together. I mean, we talked about nicotine, we talked about olive oil, we talked about springs, and all of these things are something that is really pertinent and important in our society right now. And I think that the things that we spoke about, we all have access to them, but it's really understanding not just the name, the nicotine, the olive oil, the water. It's knowing how to get the one that's going to resonate with your body.
Right. And knowing about it and about the thing. Like you remind me of something I wanted to say, we'll wrap it up with this one. So making on my own rapés, which are hapés, are tobacco snuffs. And I've been growing a variety of tobacco in my Ontario property that came out of the seeds I originally got from a friend of mine's father who was on an archaeological dig in Thunder Bay, Ontario, where they unearthed tobacco seeds that were 800 to 1,000 years old. And I've been growing that for 20 years. That particular strain, it's like an heirloom, right? It's a real Native American tobacco strain from the region. Like, whoa. And one of the things about it, you know, when the season finishes, you know, pull the roots out and stuff, it's like, well, these roots are interesting. So, you know, I'm thinking, okay, you know, Rudolf Steiner says that roots are brain. That's the brain of the plant.
Yeah, it's the intelligence.
The intelligence of the plant. And so then I'm thinking, okay, we're with a Hape, you're going right to here, to your brain. So the tobacco root to your brain. Then we find out that nicotine is manufactured in the roots. We know that now, because if you graft like a tomato plant onto tobacco roots, it'll still produce nicotine and all the things. So that just led me to create my own Hape that has a tobacco root in it.
Oh, wow.
And that's a really fun one. That's a really interesting one, I have to say.
What's that experience like?
It's, you know, it's like a normal Hape experience, but it's, you know, it's tobacco has that thing about how it activates focus and concentration, the way it improves memory and things like that. So I'd say it gives just a little bit more of that.
Okay.
And this is how we apply, you know, this is these things that we should be thinking about. These are the things we should be applying. And so I'm glad that came up.
You get to apply.
You get to apply.
We get to think about. And that's why I love being around you, because you get my mind going and I get more creative with my thinking and get more intuitive, right? Yeah. Like, let's stop looking at ChatGPT for everything and looking to others and really just being in nature and feeling into it, because there's an intelligence inside of us that's going to connect with nature. And then that's the exploring, and that makes it fun.
That's it. That's right. Enjoy your life. And have the best day ever, of course.
Have the best day ever. Thanks for being here, David.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.